What is up, guys? It is Styx here, and today I'm going to be going over Ning Fei, one of the most popular characters in the game right now. He's a standard mythic character of the arc variety, and he is currently known for being extremely good at speedrunning pretty much anything you want to do in the game. He's also got some interesting tech with some of his abilities that let people do some crazy parkour stuff. I only recently got him, so I'm going to be telling you guys, based on what I've learned, how to use his abilities effectively and build his character. If you like this kind of stuff, only 90% of you are subscribed, so do that for an easy way to support the channel. It shouldn't hit you with notifications or anything unless you click the bell, so you could just leave it as is. Now, for his passive ability, Dance of Sparks. Chain lightning damage from Ning Fei and his clones inflicts a debuff called Arc Disarray for 8 seconds. Arc Disarray on its own doesn't do very much, but once Arc Disarray stacks 3 times, it triggers Arc Tremor, another more significant debuff that inflicts chain lightning damage to enemies within a 10-meter radius. It's a nice little general AoE thing. The signature we'll go over first is Side Trick, his S2. This causes him to blink 5 meters ahead in the direction he's moving, and creates a clone at the reticle position up to 12 meters away. That lasts 8 seconds. The clone attacks targets in a 10-meter radius once every 1.2 seconds, and while you are within 10 meters of a clone, you gain 40% acceleration and 20% damage resistance. This effect persists for 4 seconds upon leaving its range. The clones can't move on their own, they can be destroyed, and they take the same amount of damage as Ning Fei. Whenever they deal damage, they heal themselves and Ning Fei for a percentage of their damage dealt. Only up to 3 clones can exist at a time, so no matter how much you get your cooldowns down or what talents you have, you can only have 3 up at once. But without a specific talent, you'll probably only have 2 up at once, except in rare scenarios in something like Chaos. Now, this combines really well with his S1, Lightning Strike. Ning Fei leaps high in the air with the arc-infused staff and smashes down at a target within a 10-meter radius. This creates an 8-meter radius explosion and corrupts all enemies within for 6 seconds. If there are no targets to attack, he will just do a leap. It's just a movement ability. If one of his clones are near the target, then it will also attack with Lightning Strike. So keep that in mind for damage. For his super, the main thing to keep in mind here is that it's only a 60-second super. You want to use this off cooldown every time. It's a very simple one. He just pulls out his arc staff and does a quick AoE attack combo, triggering chain lightning along the way, and it enhances his clones while he is supering. It also provides a nice 20% movement speed and damage resistance. So using this off cooldown is 100% recommended. Now, for his relic trait 1, Mind Meld. Defeating targets with Lightning Strike refunds 100% energy for Side Trick. Very, very useful. This is basically going to cement Side Trick as something you will always use before you Lightning Strike. That way you can keep the combo going and you can keep chaining your abilities. That's my personal recommendation. This will also work really well with some of the artifacts we're going to be running, but I do have variations for people who aren't able to keep up with that. For Relic Trait 2, Acme of Perfection, if a target is hit by Arts of Staff consecutively within 5 seconds, your super, the damage dealt increases. Each consecutive strike increases damage by 10%, up to 100% increase at 10 hits. Very nice, very good for something like boss damage if you're popping your super on them. Really good to do. Then we have Lightning Fast Reload. It's very simple. He just gives himself a really fast reload speed every time he uses a signature ability. For his weapon mastery, Arc Overload. Using any ability grants 6 Arc Overload stacks. Arc Overload is a buff that causes weapon hits to trigger Overloaded Arc, which deals arc damage equal to 20% of your weapon hit damage to the target and up to 4 combats within a 10-meter radius. This can trigger once every 10th of a second and can stack up to 24 times. At levels 2 and 3, the damage is increased, and then at level 4, it also inflicts Overload Disarray, which works very similarly to our passive with Arc Tremor, which deals extra chain lightning and deals significantly more damage than before, and then at level 5, it's another large damage increase. I'm a little bit resource spent and also trying to save certain things up for Hellhest, so I'm a little bit short on this stuff, but I am intending on wanting to get this weapon mastery up ASAP. Now for a general gameplay loop, you're probably going to enter the combat wanting to side trick around the enemies, that way they get hit by the AoE, you get to benefit from the acceleration and damage resistance, and then you can Lightning Strike into the enemies, which then hits them with 2 Lightning Strikes because your clone is there. It corrupts them, so if this is like a damage phase of any kind, or you're against beefier targets that need to be dealt with quickly, then you can use that in order to deal significantly more damage to them. This then gives you another side trick. For reasons of our artifacts, you're going to have a couple of seconds in between each of these for specific reasons that I will explain as soon as I get into them. Once you have cycled through your abilities a bit, using your super in between will be very nice. You can get all of your use out of your super really fast by basically just spam attacking and using the combo. For the talents, I'm going to go over them somewhat briefly. First of all, his talent 1 is probably the only thing I would say is like, this is the best talent here, straight up. You don't really need any of the others, though there are a couple towards the end that are nice. It's also really unreliable to expect 6 duplicates of a mythic standard banner character. To be frank, it's going to cost you a lot of money or a lot of time, and you'd have to be really lucky. So if you want any of them, like let's say you randomly pulled him and you still have your guarantee, I would recommend using your guarantee on him to get mirror image, which increases the side trick's number of charges to 2. This is where that 3 clone limit comes up, because as soon as you get this, you will have 3 clones on the field almost all of the time, as long as you play into your lightning strike, resetting the cooldown. His second talent gives him some invisibility after side trick, and then when he's revealed, he deals a little bit of extra damage. It's not bad. For his third talent, it increases the damage of lightning strike a little bit, which is nice. It's not bad at all. For his fourth, it's high voltage current. Overloaded Arc and Overloaded Tremor both deal increased damage to the first target. That one seems a little bit meh in my opinion, but it is a gateway to talent level 5, which reduces the energy consumption of your super by 30% and increases the damage of its final strike by 20%. Really nice, because you get this thing all the time. You're going to have it for longer, and the last strike is going to deal more damage. Crazy. And then for his last one, whenever he uses his super, his clones also use the super to attack combatants within range, dealing 20% of Ning Fei's damage. This is crazy, because assuming you have 3 clones and you did the combo I mentioned before, and you have some of the artifacts that we're going to be running, that is some wild damage, especially on a boss. Speaking of which, artifacts. So for his first 2, which are the kind of variable ones, if you're confident that you can cycle between his signature abilities every few seconds, then I highly recommend running Nimble Veil, which gives you an up to 42% damage reduction for 3 seconds after using a movement ability, along with Healing Veil, which restores up to 16% of your health every time you use a movement ability. Both of your signatures are considered movement abilities, so if you use the combo I mentioned beforehand of the side trick into a lightning strike a few seconds later, into another side trick by using the relic trait that resets your cooldown, even without any talents into Ning Fei, you can keep a huge uptime on Nimble Veil while also consistently healing yourself using Healing Veil. If you feel like you can't keep up with this, or if you just want something as an alternative, I can also recommend running Unrelenting Subgravity, which gives you an up to 30% damage reduction while airborne, combined with Unrelenting Evolution, which gives you an armored effect that can give you something in the realm of 25 to 30% damage reduction as well, while you have Subgravity active. I'm personally running the Veil combo. For the third slot, I recommend Rampaging Pact. Summoning will grant the wielder up to a 33% damage bonus for 6 seconds. If you're using your abilities consistently, this should be up almost all of the time, because of the way that side trick's cooldown resets, and his cooldowns are already very, very short. If you have talent 1, this will be incredibly easy to keep uptime for because of both charges. The fourth slot is a similar situation. We will be running Bellicose Planetesimal, so that casting signature abilities grants us a 30% weapon damage bonus for 6 seconds. Ning Fei makes great use out of certain weapons, so giving him a huge damage bonus in this regard is really helpful for him. And because the uptime is attached to your signature abilities, it should have a large amount of uptime. Now that we're done with your artifacts, I'm going to go over the substats I'm going to recommend. Melee damage resistance is super clutch on him, because most of the time you're going to be right up in an enemy's face, so if they're hitting you, they're going to be close to you. Another one, weapon enhancement. This is where a ton of your damage comes from, because a lot of your damage is going to be weapon based. This is even more true once you get the exotic crossbow, so definitely keep that up. I like running defense boost as well, more damage resistance. I like running ability strength for our abilities dealing extra damage. I also like running signature and super boost for the same reason, though I didn't get many rolls with super boost, and arc boost, of course, for your arc damage, especially if you are someone who's preferring to run arc weapons. Getting into light-linked companions. A pretty much requirement is Kabr. He's the best in slot. He's a 4-star. There's no way you don't have him. I'm pretty sure you get a copy of him just for playing the story. The other option, I would recommend either Estela or Umeko, based entirely on who has the higher tier. Whoever has more talents, just use theirs, because they both are really impactful for him, in the sense that he has a lot of buffs and he also has a lot of debuffs, so increasing the duration of both of those things is good. I just go with the one that has the higher percentage, which for me right now is Estela. Now, for his weapons, I unfortunately do not have the raid crossbow. I've been trying to farm for it, basic rewards, using pinnacle energy. Trying to farm for both that and gallows for my Estela has wrung me dry, to be frank. But I can tell you that it is his best in slot. By far, you should absolutely invest in it if you're planning on using Ning Fei. And if you do invest in it, I also recommend running it with something like Wolfpack. This is because 1, Wolfpack is a void weapon, and 2, Wolfpack has some pretty sick perks in my opinion. I really like Annihilation on it because it increases the damage you deal to targets as they become less healthy. This is really good on a primary weapon just because you're not going to be dealing a ton of damage at once, so it's not like you're going to run the risk of one-shotting a target that's at 30% health or something. In addition to this, I recommend running Hyperemia. This causes final blows to grant an extra damage bonus for 10 seconds. It does stack 5 times, which means, you got to keep up with the stacks. But because the number of stacks are lower, it's easier to keep up with than Glutton, in my opinion. If you do have another option though, I would recommend Black Body because Black Body clears on death versus Glutton clearing when the current stage is cleared. Another decent option is the Kulfi, in which I would recommend running Annihilation once again with Syncopation. It gives you something like an extra 40% just straight damage buff because every 4th round will deal extra damage. And if you were to assume you're hitting all your shots, you can spread this damage and do the math there. It comes out to something like 40% extra damage across your whole mag. If you don't have the exotic crossbow like me, I would recommend running Huckleberry. Once again, we're covering that void, and then in addition to that, I personally really like Huckleberry. If you're trying to go for all arc, I could understand a risk runner play. It's just not for me. For my crossbow, I'm running the Saizo. I would recommend running it with Trinket Air, which gives a 15% damage bonus when the fire team is full, and up to 20% extra damage if your allies' shields haven't been broken. Combining this with Hyperemia for the same reason as Wolfpack. Glutton is your second best option in this slot, and in the other slot, I would say Fire Rush is probably your best. Eager Aspirant and Solidarity are both kind of meh in my opinion, so if they're the only mythic perks you have, then that's fine, but they're my lowest priority. If you're trying to go for all arc once again, you can use the Ebelax, which I would recommend running with Fraternity and Syncopation. Syncopation for the same reason that I had mentioned beforehand, and Fraternity is a very nice damage bonus, 28%, and all that is required is all your fire team members being alive. As long as your teammates are not bad, this weapon is good. If you watched up to this point, comment, "Good afternoon, Pumpkin." He will be reading all of them, and I will tell you when he has in a response to your comment down below. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and consider sharing it with some of your friends. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.